Many things are still a baffling mystery in our world. Science doesn't quite yet have all the answers or all the keys to unlock the secrets of our universe. Every day, somewhere, someone sees something they can't explain. Something that we're told is not there, is not real, or simply doesn't exist. Too many reliable people tell of sightings and encounters with the unknown. The myths, legends, folklore, and old wives' tales are usually based in fact and in reality. When a witness to such a strange encounter finds no one believes them and faces ridicule from people they trust and love, they turn to us. Well, hello, and I've got a little something that I want to talk about before we get this Alabama adventure started tonight. As it's been about a week and a half or 2 weeks now since Hurricane Florence hit the Carolinas. And I was talking to a friend of mine a few days ago who lives in Carolina. I'll tell you his first name. I won't tell you his last name. His first name's Daniel. He lives in North Carolina. He sent us some photographs of the Uwharrie National Forest. I believe that's the way you pronounce that. National Forest a while back, of some Bigfoot signs and some other things, some megaliths, rocks, and that type of stuff that we have done a video on, and we'll get it out as quick as we can. We did one that he sent about some Bigfoot signs up that way a while back. Anyway, I was talking to him the other night. He's got his power back on and are getting adjusted and getting through the hurricane that hit up there, as I said, about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago now. But he wanted us, if would, all of my viewers out there to keep in mind Indian tribe up there. They have been hit by 2 hurricanes in the last 3 years, very hard hurricanes. He said they were just getting over the last one whenever Hurricane Florence hit. They're in Robeson County, I believe that's the way you pronounce it, Robeson County, North Carolina. They're the Lumbee tribe up there. Right now, it's been about, as I said, about a week and a half or 2 weeks. A lot of them still have no power, no water up there. If you might be in a position where you could donate something or help out with something up there, it would be very much appreciated. Undoubtedly, the place they live, it's been pretty hard for the utility and power company crews and that type of stuff to get in there to get everything restored back as it should be. They are mainly a tribe of farmers up there in North Carolina. So if you would, keep them in your thoughts and prayers anyway. And now let's get on to this Alabama adventure. Well, hello, and welcome to this edition of Alabama Adventures. Tonight we take another trip into the shadow regions, where reality and the supernatural mingle. Tonight we talk about phantoms. Phantom vehicles, like phantom cars and phantom trucks and phantom trains. I hope you'll sit back and relax and join us tonight. And now, as I always like to say, from the tail end of the Appalachian Mountain Chain in the heart of the South, this is Alabama Adventures. Before we get started, I once again want to thank all of you who have taken time to keep me in your thoughts and prayers over all this time that I've had so much trouble with my health. It seems I have good days and bad now, and tonight was a pretty good night. I'm not losing my breath as bad as I have been, so I wanted to do you another Alabama adventure. As I said, tonight we talk about phantoms. The first one I want to tell you about is about a phantom train. This was told to me by a cousin of mine who was a truck driver several years ago, and this happened along I-10 somewhere in West Texas. Okay, now I got my bottle of water close by in case I do lose my breath. Just had a pretty good night tonight, and as I said, and I'll say it one more time, thank all of you for all of your thoughts and prayers to get me over this rough time that I'm having with my health. Anyway, what happened, he said it was back in the 1970s. He was driving a truck for a trucking company that's here in Alabama. and he had a haul out west. I'm not sure exactly where out west that his haul was, but he had made the run out there several times before, he said. And he always went down I-10. I think he was going like to California or somewhere out through there. But anyway, he said he had made that run down I-10 many times. This night, they said it was on into the night. He was driving that night to try to get out there and get back home as quick as he could. But anyway, he said he had never noticed it, but said, it might have just been that he was just going along while he was driving and just never noticed the railroad track across the road. But on this particular night, he said as he went down I-10, he said out in the distance, he could see a flashing red light. And it was a railroad light was what it was. He recognized it immediately whenever he came into view to where he could see it. And said he drove on out there to it. Said it was a pretty good ways off. It took him a little bit to get on out there to where these flashing lights were across this railroad track. Anyway, he said what he did, said he pulled up to the railroad track, and just about time he did, this train, let me scratch my ear a minute. He said this train started by just about time he got pulled up to stop. Said, of course, the lights were on and he was going to stop anyway. But he said the train was coming down the track and he stopped, and said he looked behind him. There wasn't any cars or anything. He was kind of out there on the road by himself. And he said, well, he thought he would just relieve himself right quick while he was sitting there. So said he got out of the cab and said you could hear this train clicking, and the way that they do whenever they're going down the track, you could hear the brakes squealing, that type of stuff. Said it was just a normal sound of a normal train going down a railroad track. And he walks around to the other side of the truck, and that there's what he does. He takes a pee right quick while there's not. And he said he sort of keeps an eye out behind him to make sure no cars are coming up to see him anything. But he was like standing between the trailer and the rig up there, where he was pretty much out of sight, but he could still see this train coming along the track. And he said as he stood there and this train was going down the track, making all the sounds that a train normally makes whenever they go down the railroad, he said that all of a sudden that this train and the lights, the track and everything just disappeared before his eyes. And he was very shocked whenever this happened. So anyway, he stands there for a few minutes thinking about it and trying to figure out what's just happened at this train and everything, the lights, the poles, everything just all of a sudden disappeared. And he's kind of shaken up, but anyway, he gets back in the truck and he drives on down the road. And as he drives on down to I-10 westbound, was the way that he was going this particular night. I think I said that earlier, but anyway, he was headed west on I-10. He said on down the road was a little like a truck stop, gas station, convenience store, restaurant, whatever you want to call it, and said he pulled in there to get some more coffee or get him something to eat, and said he sort of just wanted to get out of the truck and think things over. And anyway, after he got into the truck stop or cafe, whatever it was there, whenever the guy asked him behind the counter, asked him, or the waitress, one or the other, behind the counter asked him how was he doing tonight, as people usually do. He said, well, I really don't know. He said, I just saw something that I can't explain. Anyway, there was our first battery failure. As we always have a lot of battery failures when we go to talking about ghosts, and I guess it's going to be the same way with phantoms. And I guess this would kind of be a ghost train or something like that. But anyway, getting back to the story, he told him what had happened a few miles back up the road, and that he didn't know what was wrong. That he guessed he was seeing things that, and then he told him what I just told you. He told him what had happened, and the waitress and the cook behind the counter started talking to him about what he had seen, and said that this happened every once in a while. Said it didn't happen on a regular basis. It was like a certain month. I forgot what month he said it was, but it was like a certain month out there that this phantom train would be seen from time to time, and truckers or tourists or whatever that was going down I-10 had reported this had happened many times. And I have heard this same encounter on some other places throughout the United States, or similar anyway. But that was our first phantom encounter, was a phantom train. All right, now we move along to the next phantom automobile encounter, or vehicle, whatever you want to call it. This was a car, a phantom car. The car was seen one night by a young man. It was in Chambers County, was where this happened, the very northern tip end of Chambers County. But anyway, along Frogeye Road, and I know you have heard me mention Frogeye and Frogeye Road in some other videos. Seems there's a lot of paranormal stuff goes on over there. A lot of UFO sightings down along Frogeye Road and the connecting roads or junction roads, whatever you want to call them, over there. We've had several reports of UFOs, shadow figures, shadow animals. There's just been a lot of stuff that has went on over there in this particular area. But anyway, the first report, I received 2 reports of this same car at different times. Okay, the first report was sometime in the fall of, it's been about 4 or 5 years ago now, the first report I received from it. It was in the fall because I remember whenever the young man got home that night, he actually gave me a call. He had been knowing me, I guess, about just about all his life. And what he saw, he called me that night around 11:30, 12 o'clock that night, and said he wanted to come up to my house and tell me what he and his girlfriend had just witnessed. Anyway, I told him yes. So anyway, the reason I know it was fall, it wasn't real cold, but it was kind of cool. I walked outside, and whenever he pulled in, we talked out there at his truck for a little bit, and then I remember we sat down on the porch. It was a little cool that night, and we did both have on just a light jacket. So I do remember the time of year that was. In my files, I have the exact time and everything, but I'm just telling you this off the top of my head because it's just some things that I'm trying to get out on video while I'm still able to do it. Now, he and his girlfriend had been down to one of his other friend's house, this man and his wife. They had a cookout there. There had been a ball game on that afternoon, and they all watched the ball game, and after the ball game went off, or maybe right at the ending of it or whatever, they cooked out some hamburgers and stuff like that. And anyway, they had just had a pretty good night down there, and he was carrying his girlfriend home. He was coming up Frogeye Road from his friend lived in Frogeye, what is the Frogeye community down there. He and his girlfriend had left. He was carrying her home before he returned home. They got a little ways on up Frogeye Road. There's a bridge just as you come out of Frogeye, I guess maybe 2 or 3 miles. You go by Mountain Springs Church, and as you go down that hill, there's a bridge down there at the foot of the hill that crosses a small creek down there. Well, as they went down the hill, that's when he saw the tail lights on this car. But they weren't tail lights of a modern day car. Now, he said that they were driving like a pretty normal speed, probably around 50 miles an hour because it was well after dark that night, and he said he never drove real fast and that type of stuff. But anyway, he said that they noticed that this car was not moving very fast as it seemed to be going across the bridge as they were coming down the hill. Anyway, he said the thing about it, they could tell it was an older model car whenever they got up on it. He described it as an early model of 1950s Ford. He said it had the little round tail lights, and it was green and black. It was the color of the car whenever his headlights shined on it where he could see it. And he said the thing that was kind of odd about it, he said you could tell there were 4 or 5 people in the car. With the lights shining through the rear window and the front window, he could tell that there were several people in the car, and so they were kind of moving around like they were having a good time talking and laughing. Said, they were like back and forth and that type of stuff in the car. But he said one thing that was kind of odd about it was the interior light in this particular car was on, and said it really illuminated the inside of the car more than what you would think a 1950s model interior light would. And he said he followed the car for a little ways, thinking about passing it to try to get his girlfriend on home. But said they really wasn't in that big a hurry. Said it was kind of early. Said it was like 11:30, so it really wasn't that late whenever her parents wanted her to be in or anything. So said they were talking and having a good time too, talking about what all they had done that day and eating and watching the ball game and stuff. And said that this car was moving kind of slow. Said it was only going about 30 35 miles an hour. And he said that like I said, he said he wasn't in no hurry to get on home. He didn't pass it, but said he followed it probably 4 or 5 miles up this road, and said as they neared Highway 22, that all of a sudden the car that they had been looking at and had followed for several miles just totally disappeared. It was just gone. It was there 1 second. They were both looking out the window at it, and the car just completely disappeared all at once. So that was a phantom encounter that happened on Frogeye Road. And I have another encounter of this same car about 2 or 3 weeks later by somebody else. Okay, now this second encounter with the same car, as I said, happened about 2 weeks later. I was in the post office one morning checking my mail, and hoping that I had some bills in there that I could pay to spend money on. But anyway, that's what I go to the post office for, just to see how many bills I get. But anyway, as I was checking my mail, this lady that I have known a long time come walking up. She is a very respectable, very honest person. She, a matter of fact, works for the government. I won't say what she does or where she works at. But anyway, she is a government employee, and I don't think she would be just making something up. And she could not make this particular story up. That was almost identical to what the young man in the other story told me. She had some friends that lived in Frogeye, and her daughter went down there one day to see them one afternoon. And well, after they got down there, they decided that they would eat supper with them, this type of stuff. And time sort of got away from them. And she said it was around probably well after dark, been just a few weeks earlier, was when she had seen this. She told me the month, and I can't remember the month right now. But anyway, I could get into my files and get all that information. But anyway, she said it was in the fall, and said, as I said, she had been to her friend's house down there. They were on their way home. They too were coming from Frogeye toward Highway 22. And she said as they went down the hill there where Mountain Spring Church is, that there was a car up ahead of them just a little ways. And said, of course, she was in no big hurry to get home. Her daughter didn't have any homework or something that night. It could have been like a weekend or whatever. But anyway, she said they just got behind the car, maybe 4 or 5 car lengths behind the car, and said they followed it across the bridge, up the next hill, and on toward Highway 22. And she said they followed it for a long ways. And she described the car as around a 51 or 52 Ford was what she said, which would have been the same thing as this other gentleman said, an early 50 model Ford. Her main thing she was telling me about was it had round tail lights that you didn't see back in this particular time. Tail light design had been changed a lot. Okay, now for our next phantom vehicle encounter, we go to a little community. It used to be a pretty good little town, I believe. I don't know a whole lot about it. I can't tell you a whole lot about it. It's called Dickert, Alabama. It's about 7 miles west of Roanoke on Highway 22. Here is a picture of the last building, I guess, that's left over there along the railroad track. I believe this was either the post office or a small hotel many years ago. There was also a train depot and some other buildings that were beside it, but here in the last year or so, somebody has torn those other buildings down. Anyway, I want you to see this picture. Now, you can't see this particular building from Highway 22. You'll have to go down a little side road there next to the railroad track to actually see this. But there's just not much left of Dickert anymore, and I can't tell you a whole lot about it other than it was the home of a large wood yard for many years. And the wood yard now has gone out of business. And anyway, this is a place just right up the road here in Dickert is where our next phantom encounter occurred. Now then, as you leave Dickert on Highway 22 going west, you go into a very sharp curve. And this is a picture of that curve, the best I can make it. This is along just as you leave where the wood yard was. You can tell where that is when you come along Highway 22. But anyway, it was in this very sharp curve is where our phantom encounter happened. It was with an 18-wheeler. A chicken truck is what these two people encountered that night. They are two members of the Alabama Bigfoot Society, and they were on their way home one night, I believe between about 10 and midnight once again. Now, when you go into this curve, you will head up a hill, and the curve, although it's not a very sharp curve, it is a 90-degree curve. But anyway, as they entered it from this way, going west, coming east was as they went into the curve, they were shocked all at once as this 18-wheeler just appeared in front of them on the wrong side of the road. It was on their side, and they said that this thing just, they thought that they were both going to be killed immediately whenever this 18-wheeler hit them, but it actually went through the car. It just, it was a chicken truck, as in this area we have a lot of chicken houses, and they do get emptied from time to time, and that was what I guess was going on here. But anyway, the truck just ran through the car and on around the curve, and they, one of them said that they actually closed their eyes and braced for the impact, but it never happened. And anyway, they ran on through this thing, and it sort of shocked them, upset them a little bit, but they came on home. They talked about it a whole lot along the way back home, and of course they went on home that night, and they did give me a call the next day telling me what they had encountered the night before, and I was very surprised at it. But anyway, something kind of unusual the next morning. Now, whenever they went out to their car to like go to the post office or wherever they were going that morning, they actually found some white chicken feathers inside their car. So makes you kind of makes you wonder. Now, was there a wreck of a chicken truck in this curve sometime prior to whenever they had their encounter? And I have thought about it while I was fixing to do this video. I believe many years ago that there was a chicken truck that did wreck in that particular curve. It's been a very dangerous curve over the years. Several years ago, back in the late 50s and the early 60s, whenever somebody got killed along an Alabama highway, the state would put these little tiny crosses there, and I'm not sure if they put their names on them or what, but they would put crosses wherever somebody got killed on the road. And anyway, I can remember one time there was a carload of people that were headed west on 22 in this curve, and they had a wreck, and I think there was about 6 or 7 people killed. I think they also hit somebody head on over there, and there were 6 or 7 people killed, because I can remember whenever I was young, as me and my father and mother would go like to Roanoke or somewhere and come back along that road, you could see these 6 or 7 crosses right there on the side of the road. So anyway, I believe, as I said earlier, I believe the best I remember back when I was very young, that there was a chicken truck that did wreck in that curve, that turned over in that curve at one time. So maybe that's why the curve is haunted. Okay, and here we go with our next phantom vehicle encounter. This involves also an 18-wheeler, except it's a log truck this time. There's a lot of log trucks going up and down the road here in east central Alabama, and this is a phantom one that goes up and down the road. It has been spotted about 4 times. I believe I've had 4 reports, 4 or 5 reports on this thing. Here's the story on it. It's down in Zana, and I'm sure that you remember Zana. I've talked a lot about it. Bigfoot and Black Panthers and ghosts, everything else down around Zana. And now we have a phantom log truck that's been reported by 4 different people, at least. All right, here we go. What it is, as you're coming east on Highway 22 through Zana, you'll come by this church, Oak Grove CME Church. Right here, you see the church as you're coming up on it in the curve. Now, it's just as you go out of this curve is when this log truck appears. Okay, now here's a picture of the front of the church as you'll pass it going eastward on Highway 22. This is what the church will look like. And here's a picture of the sign out front. Anyway, as you come out of this curve, and or so the report has been, as you come out of this curve, if you it's at nighttime is when this happens. As you come out of this curve, a 18-wheeler truck with many lights, running lights, parking lights, all type of lights on the front end will come up just all at once behind you, and it will follow you for just a short distance down the road. And the people that have got a look at the driver, now the truck will pass you as before you get to a Chapel Road. Now Chapel Road is a little dirt road right on up there, just about a half a mile that turns to the left. Okay, the truck will be past you by the time it gets there and pull in front of you somewhere along about Chapel Road. All right, anyway, what it is, people have told me that whenever the truck pulls up behind them, that you can tell that the interior of the truck is very well lit. It's a very white light in there, and you can sort of make out the driver of the truck. Sometimes whenever he comes, of course, now he's always got his headlights on bright, and he's got a lot of running lights, or whatever you want to call them, parking lights, whatever you want to call them, across the front bumper, across the top of the truck. And as the truck passes you, you can, if you have your window down, you can hear the sound of the tires making the popping sound down the road, as a 18-wheeler truck will do. Sometimes they have had reports that the air brakes, as they get pressurized or whatever to a certain point, then the air brakes let some air off. And I've had reports saying that they actually heard the air brakes, how they makes that a spewing sound. Sometimes whenever an 18-wheeler is behind you, I'm sure that heck you've noticed that. But anyway, the truck passes you. All down the rail of the log truck are these orange running lights. And a couple of, or maybe three of the reports I've had said it looked like there's 100 of these orange little square lights on the rail of the trailer as this thing passes. They're also on the cab of the truck, down the side of it, down the running board, step or whatever it's called there. As the truck pulls out to pass you, or so the reports go, whenever it starts to pass you, you can actually hear the increase in the RPMs of the engine. It makes that deep roaring sound like a diesel truck does whenever it goes past you. They said that they had heard this. Also, now what I was going to tell you about the driver, some of the people said that, all of them said that the cab was pretty well lit up inside, and sometimes you get a pretty good look at the driver, undoubtedly. But anyway, what they say is he is leaned forward over the steering wheel as he passes you, and he's got on a white shirt, what appears to be a white t-shirt, as he passes you. All right, as I said, before you get to Chapel Road, the truck and the trailer will be completely around you, and he pulls in pretty close, pretty tight on you, as he pulls back into the right-hand lane. All right, as you pass Chapel Road, you can still see him going down this at least a mile long straightaway. Of course, it's not hardly that far now when you get to Chapel Road to the curve that will turn back to the left going on along Highway 22. But just as he gets in front of you a little ways, not that far, just a little ways, the truck completely goes away. It disappears. And some of the witnesses have thought that maybe the truck ran off the road and ran down through the woods or something. And whenever they get up there to where it starts going into this left-hand curve, as you'll see if you go down there, there is no lights, nothing down in the woods. They can't see anything. And as they go on around the curve, the truck is already gone. It doesn't go on down the road. So it undoubtedly just runs down the straightaway there in Zana. All right, now what I did, I went down there back before I had all these heart attacks and everything. I was working on this video then, and I went down there one day. Of course, it was me and Chico went. He was accompanying me. Then he was sitting in the back seat. Of course, you can't see him, but just out of luck, this white truck, and it could be the same one. I don't know. Now this was in daylight whenever we had our little sighting of this white truck, and it may have not have been the Phantom truck. It may have just been somebody hauling logs that day. Anyway, what it was, the truck did come up behind us, and I got it on video, so I wanted to put it on this video so you would kind of know what I was talking about. The truck comes up behind us, and as you can see, the headlights are on bright, and this particular one was too that day. So that sort of makes me wonder, well, was that it? Did we actually encounter this truck during the daylight hours? But anyway, he follows us for a little ways. He pulls out to pass us. You'll notice the sound of the truck as he goes by. And then as he pulls in front of us, I turned the camera around the best I could, as quick as I could, to sort of show you how it is and how far he goes on down the road. So if you would just watch this clip. Well, all right, there you have it. Tell me what you think about that. Do you think that there is a phantom truck down there? What do you think it is? Why do you think he's down there? It could be that there was a wreck of a log truck down through there at some time or another, and the guy passed away or was killed in the wreck, and for some reason he's condemned to run this road over and over from now on. Tell me what you think about it. I'm not sure, but I have had several reports of this phantom log truck in Zana. So I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about it. Now, a while back, Dorothy and I was over in Harpersville, Alabama. You know, we did a video on Harpersville about the guy that flew the plane over there and jumped out and tried to fake his death and all that kind of stuff a while back. But anyway, we ran up on a place over there that restores antique cars and that type of stuff, and they had this car sitting out front. They had been working on it. The car had gotten a little damage going to one of the car shows, and the owner brought it to this particular place to get him to repair some fender, do some fender work and that type of stuff on it. And we saw it sitting there, and I thought I'd get out and film it right quick because I know some of you like to look at old cars like I do. Now then, if you'll notice in this little clip where I videoed the car, a pretty good sized black dog comes out and barks at us. And we made him about the happiest dog in the state of Alabama that day. He actually got to walk outside and bark at somebody. I know that really made him happy, and so we just had a big day over in Harpersville. But anyway, here's the car. I believe it's a 1934 Ford Coupe. I'm not sure about that. I didn't ask him what it was. You may can tell me exactly what it is. But I believe it's a 1934 Ford Coupe. Okay now, and as we bring this video on to a close, I want to tell you a little something about the automotive restoration place that's in Harpersville. Let me get my other eyes on here real quick, and I'll try to do the best I can on this. The name of the place is Street Scene Automotive Restoration Company Incorporated, and they're located at 4528 Highway 280 in Harpersville, Alabama. That's 35078. And if you would like to talk to them about what they do, let me give you a little quick list on what's on their card that they do. They do complete restorations, fuel injections, chassis swaps, interiors, parts, and if you need to give them a call, the number is 205-642-9122, and give them a call. And when you do, be sure to tell them that you saw it here on Alabama Adventures with the Bigfoot Man. And I hope that they remember me when I was over there that day. It's been a little while back now. But anyway, if you would do that, I would certainly appreciate it. Now, as I always do, I would like to tell you that the Alabama Bigfoot Society is run completely out of pocket, and I'm about out of breath this afternoon from all the talking I've been doing. But anyway, you just have to put up with that right now. The Alabama Bigfoot Society is run completely out of pocket, and if you would like to make a donation, and if you're in a position where you can make a donation, that would be very much appreciated, especially at this time. All you have to do is to go to our website, alabamabigfootsociety.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see how to make your donation. As I said, it would be very much appreciated. I guess with all that being said, that about winds this video up, and I'll just leave you with this thought. May the Great Spirit always walk close to you in your circle of life. We'll be looking for you next time on the next Alabama Adventure.